It's a story that won't go away. Ilhan Omar, Democrat, married her brother, they say. And according to an old report from just about 4 years ago, there's DNA evidence. Now, this is coming from an individual who claims that they acquired DNA, got it tested, and said, oh, hey, look, they're brother and sister. And Ilhan Omar married her brother to help him get legal papers to reside in the United States, saying she, according to this story from the Daily Mail, which is a different one, she would do what she had to do to get him the papers. Apparently, she had told people in the Somali community in Minnesota. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what for, I don't know. What I can say is I find it particularly interesting that someone claimed they had DNA evidence she married her brother and offered $1 million for her to take the test. And there was no lawsuit or takedown. All of the stories are still up. And I'll tell you what I think about that. In the event that she did not marry her brother, it's a real easy lawsuit. You file the claim, you file the suit, you say it's not true, and there's no evidence. There is a challenge, however, in that if there actually is DNA evidence, then, well, the truth is an affirmative defense. If she says, I'm going to sue you for lying about me, for defaming me, making this claim, and the individual says, please do, I'd like there to be discovery, depositions, have you under oath, and then actually submit the DNA evidence under oath and under penalty of perjury that it's true, that would be bad for her. I think based on the story from the Daily Mail now, coming out saying she told people that she did marry her brother, this would be multiple felonies. I would say that right now, the story, I lean towards is probably correct. You know, I don't know for sure. I know the Star Tribune in Minnesota said that they were questioning whether she actually did marry her brother. I mean, that's a reputable paper. That's a liberal-leaning paper. If this is true, under Donald Trump, we should get an investigation, and there should be criminal charges. This is entirely within the FBI's purview. And we have this story going back to, August of 2021, saying the FBI dodged the story. They wouldn't go after her. Well, it's an entirely new FBI now. I don't know what they can or can't prioritize, but I certainly hope they investigate this because story after story after story, I mean, something's here, right? Now, you might be saying, no, we shouldn't, how dare you go after her and accuse her of such a thing? Look, if there are people claiming she married her brother, that is a minor investigation. You knock on the door, you ask some questions. What's the problem? Here's a story from the Daily Mail. They say Ilhan Omar did marry her brother and said she would do what she had to do to get him papers to keep him in the U.S., reveals Somali community leader. Maybe it's all lies. What do I know? Before we get started, my friends, of course, pick up a bag of Stand Your Grounds. It's one of our more popular blends. It's a medium roast over at castbrew.com. But of course, we've got everyone's favorite Appalachian Nights. That one sells like hotcakes. Apparently, people buy pancakes a lot because that's a saying. And we've got a bunch of other blends. Ian's Graphene Dream, of course, is available, and that's selling off the shelves like crazy. But also become a member at timcast.com to watch our Green Room show. Behind the scenes with Milo Yiannopoulos, Nick Oakes. It's a wild show. But let's get back to this story and read. They say Squad Congresswoman Ilhan Omar told friends years ago that the man who went on to become her second husband was in fact her brother. Daily Mail can confirm. That's a bold confirmation there, Daily Mail. And now for the first time, one of those friends has come forward to reveal exactly how Omar and Ahmed Elmi scandalized Somali community in Minneapolis. Abdi Hakim Asman is the first person to go on record to speak of how Omar said she wanted to get her brother papers so he could stay in the U.S. at a time when she was married to her first husband, Ahmed Hersi. But hardly anyone realized that meant marrying him. No one knew there had been a wedding until the media turned up the marriage certificate years later. Osman, 40, told the Daily Mail. Osman's revelations are sure to renew calls for an investigation into the Minnesota freshman representative who has repeatedly refused to answer questions on her marriage to Elmi. Is she a freshman? Hasn't she? She's been in for like 6-7 years, hasn't it? What would that be? 7 years? She originally said the idea that the spouses were also siblings were baseless, absurd rumors, accusing journalists of Islamophobia, but has since stayed quiet. Oh, come on. Islamophobia. Silly. Maybe the guy's not her brother. I don't know. They say your spokesman told Daily Mail that Omar, 37, does not comment on her family or personal life. Seriously? The congresswoman is focused on the work of her constituents? Sure. Omar married her first husband, Hersi, in 2002 in a Muslim ceremony that, like many in the immigrant community, was not registered with the state. Their first child, Isra, was born the following year, and a second one followed. A lot of people don't realize They're actually surprised to find out that Ilhan Omar has, a 23-year-old daughter. If for real. 23. Their first child, but in the late 2000s, Elmi appeared in Minneapolis, said Osman, who referred to Hersey by his nickname Southside. People began noticing that Ilhan and Southside were often with a very effeminate young guy who spoke in Somali through an interpreter. He was very feminine in the way he dressed. He would wear light lipstick and pink clothes and very, very short shorts. Hersey and Ilhan both told me it was Ilhan's brother, and he had been living in London, but he was mixing with what were seen as bad influence that the family didn't like. So they sent him to Minneapolis to get rehab. This is called the Fresh Prince scenario. Osman, who runs a popular Facebook blog, which commented on Somali issues, said that Omar kept her marriage to Elmi quiet, with no one in the Somali community invited to her wedding. When Hersey and Ilhan got married, a lot of people were invited. I would say there were 100 to 150 people there. But he said when she married Elmi, no one even knew about it. So the scandal was about Hersey's brother-in-law more than Ilhan's brother. It has long been rumored that Omar and Elmi are brother and sister. But because of lack of paperwork in war-torn Somalia, where they were both born, positive proof of their relationship has never been uncovered. There's also a possibility, I don't know if the DNA stuff is real, that they're only brother by family. Like if they're both from war-torn Somalia, it may be that she grew up with him and they considered each other to be siblings, but she's not really physically related. Who knows? The first report that they were siblings appeared on the website Somali Spot in 2016. It said of Elmi, as soon as Ilhan Omar married him, he started university at her alma mater, North Dakota State University, where he graduated in 2012. Shortly thereafter, he moved to Minneapolis, where he was living in a public housing complex and was later evicted. He then returned to the United Kingdom. The New York Post reported last month the FBI was investigating the marriage and had met with a source in Minneapolis who handed over a trove of documents. Any findings were to be shared with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement and the U.S. Department of Education. Anyone found guilty of committing marriage fraud faced up to 5 years in jail and a fine of up to $250,000. She's getting investigated. She might actually go to jail for this. They said the marriage was conducted at a Christian minister, yada, yada, yada. She and her husband, Marcus, who are they referring to? Alicia Harris. Great Mighty Works Ministries in Richfield, described in Facebook as blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to blame the church for whatever. We have documents, whatever it may be. In a Facebook message, says, my wife doesn't want to be involved or interviewed about Congresswoman Omar. It's not going to happen, not now, not ever. After the marriage, Omar and Elmi moved to Fargo, where they both attended North Dakota State. But Omar and Hersey were still together as husband and wife, and they had a kid. She said she needed to get papers for her brother to go to school. We all thought she was just getting papers together to allow him to stay in the country. Once she had the papers, they could apply for student loans. They both moved to North Dakota to go to school, but she was still married to Hersey in the Somali way. I have a question, though. Let me look this up. Let's ask ChatGPT to help us out with this. Can you marry a sibling in Minnesota? The answer is no, of course. But we're going to get this one fact-checked because that's what we do. No, you cannot marry a sibling in Minnesota. State law prohibits marriage between close relatives, including siblings, whether half or full. What if you are not legally recognized as siblings? Then what saith you, ChatGPT? No, you still can't marry your biological sibling, even if you're not legally recognized. Minnesota law prohibits marriage between blood relatives, including siblings, regardless of legal status. And there it is, my friends. Should the FBI investigate this and actually turn up evidence, perhaps DNA evidence, we have on this website, she might go to jail. Could you imagine if Trump, the DOJ, arrests Ilhan Omar, a Democrat member of Congress, over this? That would be nuts. There's a website, of course, that went viral quite a bit ago, Ilhan Omar DNA, that says direct DNA evidence from 2-year-old global surveillance project proves Ilhan Omar married her brother and committed felonies. Well, the New York Post wrote this in 2021. They say this individual claims to have DNA evidence. The test results stated there is a 99.99999% chance that Omar and her second husband are siblings. Before he could share the results with the media, he was arrested Thursday on underage trafficking charges and jailed pending a court hearing. Yeah. I don't trust any of these people, man. Well, the FBI is apparently investigating it now, so let them cook, and then we'll see what happens. Special Agent Joy Hess from the FBI's Twin City Field Office, which investigated allegations that Omar married her brother Elmi to get around U.S. immigration law, says the statute of limitations had run out on the case. In a recorded conversation with an associate of Lazaro posted on his website Wednesday, Hess also said the FBI could not pursue the case because Omar's ex-husband Elmi had moved overseas. I mean, if she committed felonies, pretty sure they can. The statute of limitations is over. That's interesting. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Let me explain something to you. Statute of limitations does not mean that if you commit a crime and then wait 10 years, you can't be prosecuted. Statute of limitations means the federal government has a certain amount of time to bring a case upon discovery. That is, if the federal government knew she married her brother 10 years ago, then the statute of limitations would matter. Interesting. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the statute of limitations is not something we can overcome the matter. The individual in question left the country. Asked if the new DNA evidence would be considered, she says, all I can say is that according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the statute of limitations limits what we can do in this matter. That would imply that they knew. A long time ago, she married her brother and decided not to pursue this. They say there is no statute of limitations for immigration fraud, but there also appears to be no appetite for Democrat-run Minneapolis to investigate the claim. But my friends, perhaps a Trump administration will. We'll see. I'll leave it there. We got more segments coming up. Stick around. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.